Welcome to this episode of the Elite Question. Why are you smiling?
You said 3, 2, 1.
That's why we're on the radio and people can't see you.
What do you mean? They can see YouTube. What are you talking about?
Oh man, I forgot. Way to pump the YouTube channel. Check us out on YouTube. You have joined the Elite Question Askers and this special episode. I am Jason Wells.
I am Mo Williams.
I'm Dietrich Taylor.
Ah, man, I appreciate the comedy, man. Welcome. This is Mature Mondays, TLSC Radio. Fellas, you know how we do it. You know how we start off every episode. Let's get right into it. We are doing fist bump moments. What do you have, gentlemen? Mo, come on, man. You know if you pause where it's going. So if I don't go first, you know you're going first. Unless DT jumps in and says, I got that one. You know, like other than that, come on, man. Don't do that. We've been doing this for 5 episodes now. Let's get it.
Oh, man. We talk so much. I'm always getting bumped. I don't have much more fists to give.
Pause. All right, I'll go first. Fist bump moment for me would actually stem from a conversation I had with my son, my 14-year-old son. He is a freshman in high school. And yeah, we you know, I introduced the conversation to him, and you know, just kind of, yeah, I did. A couple different ones actually. The one that I'll share about right now is, you know, I asked him, he's a good looking dude, man. He's a good looking dude. He's tall. You know, I challenged him going into his freshman year. I said, a sign of a real player is to get an upperclassman to get you to take her to homecoming or the prom.
I'm glad to hear that you're teaching them the life lessons of the world.
Hey, you know, I hit him with that early. But no, man, I asked him about girls and that type deal. And he said, you know, he wasn't really into it yet and all that. And you know, I believe him. I think I was actually kind of like that, which is why I feel like when I hit my stride, I hit my stride. But not anybody but you shaking your head, dog. Not anybody but you, Dietrich Taylor. Like you shaking your head like you judging me, man. Don't do that.
There's no judgment here ever. Ever. I don't live in that space anymore, thanks to Mo Williams. I don't live in that space. So miss me with that.
Okay, cool. That's how I felt. But no, man, I wanted to introduce the conversation. And the main reason I wanted to introduce it is because I never had the conversation with my dad, at least not to my memory. And I wanted to start something that I learned in Europe was just the way that they go about sex education specifically. You know, you're talking 3rd, 4th grade, 8, 9 years old, they start introducing it. And I think us as Americans, we think, oh man, that's going to lead them to all of this and that. And I think what it is more than anything is they have a sense of knowledge to where it's not taboo to them. So, you know, they ain't going out and trying to do something at the first opportunity. So granted, he's older than that age, but I wanted to initiate that conversation. It's already all over TV. It's already all over the music that they listen to. So yeah, I just wanted to, as proactively as I can, get at that. And so yeah, started that conversation. It went really well. He participated. And that's my fist bump moment. And I'm just going to stop right there because I feel like the more I talk, the more you laugh, DT. So I'm just going to let that go.
Seriously, you said get at that. Yeah. There's all kinds of different connotations behind what you just said.
Hey, man.
Y'all just don't leave it there.
Yeah. Or no. What you got? What's your fist bump moment then?
All right, I'm going to switch gears here. I'm going to share mine.
Yes, please.
That must have went off the rails. You about to bring us back.
I'm gonna bring it back here. But for me, my fist bump moment is for all college basketball coaches. This is like the busiest time of the year for us. Everybody's tired. Everybody's watching a lot of film. Kids are tired. they're starting to get back into a real flow of school. So things are revving up on both ends. But I think my fist bump moment for me is recognizing that my battery was on E this weekend and having just a day of self-care. And my word for the year is boundary. So setting boundaries, understanding what boundaries I need, and also communicating those boundaries clearly. So I just really intentionally used a day where I just took care of myself. And I took care of, mentally what I needed, physically, getting a good workout in, kind of resetting my diet back to where I wanted it to be. And it really got me prepared to start this week off good. So, yeah, that's my fist bump.
Have we already discussed the word or what one word is in this setting?
We have not.
Well, yeah, I think you should definitely, I don't know if the word's expand.
Expound
On that.
Yeah.
I think you should definitely.
we are basketball coaches, not linguists.
No, we are not that.
Yeah, Mo, what is one word and what does that mean to you, bro?
One word is John Gordon exercise. And instead of creating a New Year's resolution, it's pretty much creating a word where the word helps you focus better than the New Year's resolutions that we make but never really achieve or lose sight of. So before Jayson and I had met, I had done it before, but I think our connection, Jay, has got me reignited with it and got me excited for it this year. So my word was boundary. And I use the analogy quickly of this is a graphic analogy, but it makes sense. And you guys have heard me say this, but you can't poop in my yard if I have a fence in it.
Nope.
How many times I allow my day to be ruined because I let people poop in my yard. So my boundaries prevent you from contaminating my space. And a fence is not valuable if it's not placed in all four areas, keeping all things out. So that boundary for me is starting my day off right, starting my day off, spending that time with the Lord, spending that time, whether it's through some type of meditation, gratitude, and yeah, man, moving my body. And, that's really something I've been focused on this year. And I've been proud of how I've been staying true to it.
Yeah.
Can I just, I don't know. Yeah, I fist bump yourself. But Mo, we talked about this, and I think this is a great opportunity to shout out our fellow TLSC radio podcaster, Tasha Temple, because what I heard over there was you are minding your mindfulness, your meals, and your movement, which I know those are three of her pillars to her deal. So, shout out to fellow TLSC podcasters. DT, go to hell, bro.
What are you talking about, man? Like, you can't just come out of nowhere and just. I feel like I got straight sucker punch right there.
To the people who are listening,
that's out of line, bro.
What's going on? But to the people who are watching, understand this is a friendship that isn't very long, but it is definitely.
Wow. Wow. Whoa, Nelly. Woo.
How the hell are we gonna ever get serious with this, man? This is off the charts quickly. Come on, man, finish this up. I'm gonna share my one word really quickly is freedom. Freedom for me in three ways: freedom within myself, freedom within my finances, and freedom within my time. So those three things point out my one word for 2022 is freedom.
Nice. I like it. My fist bump moment is, taking it to being a coach. during this time of year, obviously, as Mo said, we're extremely busy watching film, doing whatever we can to try to eke out one more win. My fist bump moment is I think we've made it through, obviously, the COVID and all of that, and we're actually, knock on wood, healthy for the most part. We got a full team, and that is just as important as a lot of things during this time of year. And so I'm a fist bump moment and celebrate the fact that we are in that space, to approach the game Thursday as healthy as we can be.
No doubt. No doubt. Really quickly, I guess not really quickly. We talked about this on a previous episode where I talked about, me kind of getting overwhelmed and out of alignment with who I'm committed to being. But Ignite question, I kind of wanted to pose that to all of us. So to transition into our topic, Ignite question would be, granted, situations change and some things are quote unquote worse than others, and you may react in different ways, but like outside of astronomical circumstances, when looking at yourself, when you would say you're angry or upset, like how do you respond? And what I kind of mean by that are you a yeller or a screamer? Are you a get silent and separate? Are you let's talk about it in a moment? Who are you across the board? Again, realizing that situations can change. What would you say? That's to anybody.
I'll go. I don't feel I can answer that in one way.
Oh yeah.
Like to me, there's a difference between like you swipe my car with a grocery card or you put your hands on a family member.
No doubt.
If you accidentally swipe my car with a grocery card, like, all right, I see that was an accident. I'm angry, but okay, I get it. Where you put hands on a family member, like, I'm gonna tap into a space that is uncontrollable. And I actually tweeted this morning. That's why it's just ironic that we're even talking about this. But, I tweeted this because I was just reflecting on it. And I've said it before, but like our emotions are horrible drivers, but they're great passengers. I think emotions are great. Like I love coaching guys that have emotions. I just try to teach them, or I try to stay away from guys that are driven by them. Because if you're driven by them, that's where you lose control and you don't know what's going on. And it causes, like someone, and even DT can relate to this in our positions, I guess we're going to talk about this, it makes our job extremely hard. Because if you're driven by emotions, you're not rational. You're just going. And it's kind of something we look at for our program a lot on recruiting guys. Like, emotional part of the game happens. Are you responding? Are you reacting? Like I look at those things. So for me, I can't answer that as if, I'm this type of person, I'm that type of person. It really depends on what happens for me.
Yeah, I'll say two things to that. Number one, Mo, can you go back and talk about what you said in terms of emotions are great passengers, but they're not great drivers?
Message.
That to me is man, that's a tweetable moment or whatever Jayson does, it sound like air horn, blah, 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 blah. But like that, to me, that's powerful from a standpoint of, if you think about things, you allow your emotions to get the best of you, so to speak. And they then drive you. And I ain't talking about anybody else but me. I'm talking about like me as an emotional person. And to answer Jay's question, I think I get more raw, more real. I don't mix punches. Like, I'm going to tell you what I'm thinking when I'm upset, because I want to not be upset. I still want to operate from a space of trying to be productive, but I just rationalize from an emotional standpoint. Hey, here's an opportunity for me not to miss or mix words. I want you to hear me and hear me well, so that we can have a real conversation, and I think that's a space that I come from in terms of, I just get raw.
I can see that. I can see that. Yeah, I did my best to lead in because Mo, I totally agree with you. Like it's levels to it. I'm actually go a different route. You use specific situations, and I'm gonna use actually time frames. So my younger self, if it was on my mind, it was on my tongue, and and there was a whole lot more reactions than responses. And that's in most situations, on the court, off the court, relational, whatever. And as I've gotten older, wiser, more mature, grown, I definitely am in a more conscious place of how I respond in situations as opposed to react. So, yeah, I do think it's situational, and I think it's a certain maturity that comes with it as well. So that would be my deal with it. So anybody piggyback, add, or share to that before we get into it? So here is the topic. Clearly, we are a couple days per recording removed from the incident in college basketball with Juwan Howard, University of Michigan, and Gard, University of Wisconsin. They're playing conference game, Big Ten, national television. We can get into the X's and O's of it, the timeouts, the 10-second call, and all of that stuff. And I don't know if all of that really matters. I think the platform that we have, yeah, we'll naturally go over the X's and O's of it, but I think it also gives us a platform where we can be able to share our opinions and on how we go, and especially for you two literally being in that space. Head coaches, you guys do this 27, 30, 32 times a season. Let's just start with the incident. Coach Howard is upset. Most of us have seen it, but for people who don't, he's walking past. I remember that Coach Gard did something, called a timeout to break a press or whatever, while they're up big. Coach Howard took offense, going past in the layup line, shaking hand, or in the shake hand line, got some words. Next thing you know, it's a full-on scuffle. Just let's go there first, and then we'll throw in some other variables. Have you ever been in a situation like that? Coach Taylor first.
Unfortunately, yes, I have.
Okay. How'd you get there?
I was on both sides of it. Very, very similar situation that I witnessed in the Big Ten, obviously with the two coaches, and not being there, not having seen the whole game, only seeing clips of this and that. My situation was, we were playing a school, and in the first situation, we were blowing them out, and I intentionally took a turnover because we were blowing them out. And I was like, the clock, I'm just trying to get the game over, but I'm also trying to be respectful. Like, hey, I don't operate that way. And the coach that we were playing against, we took a turnover. So I thought they were going to take a turnover, and they did it. They took it out of bounds and raced the ball at the floor to try to score. And like Coach Howard, I took offense to that, especially. And
you're up.
I'm up big.
Interesting.
And I took a turnover, and I took offense to that from a standpoint of, and this is what I really want to say about the whole situation, in terms of, I took offense to that because I expected the other coach to act like I would act. And that, in my opinion, I was wrong. And it took that situation. So what happens, just like the current situation in terms of the two coaches, Howard and Coach Gard, there were some things said in the handshake line that I thought, and I take blame for it, as crazy as that sounds. Yes, my emotions were, they had, as most said, they were driving me, and they had gotten the best of me, and I said some things. I wouldn't say I said some things at first. I said something about the situation, like I thought it was uncalled for what he did. And what he said is I'm trying to score, I'm trying to coach my team. And one thing led to another, and blah, 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 blah. And the next thing you know, it's an ESPN game, and it's a big scuffle. And I think that happened a couple of years ago. And as I've gotten, older and sat in this seat, the one thing that I said is that you can't expect people to respond as though they're you. That, in my opinion, is not fair to them. And it's not fair to you to expect or place those expectations on somebody else. And again, I was on the other side of it from a standpoint of we're down now, we're getting blown out. And, again, a coach is, in my opinion, I thought he was running up the score. I thought it was unnecessary. And it wasn't a big scuffle, but I remembered that. And I said to myself, if and when the shoe is on the other foot, I'm gonna get you,
So kind of the same deal, like Juwan, I'm gonna remember that.
Yeah. And I think maybe different than Juwan, I didn't say it out loud. I said it to myself.
Gotcha.
But I also understand the situation that I've been on both sides. So I completely understand how they both reacted and how they both responded. I don't necessarily know that I agree with the punishment that was divvied out to only one guy.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
But I understand. I completely understand. And you I hate to do it, but then you bring in the racial thing, and there's a lot of things that can be misinterpreted or interpreted one or the other, and it leaves you up to your perspective, and anything comes out of your perspective. And I learned how to respond differently because of the experience.
So you actually brought up a couple of the things that I wanted to go to, but Mo, I want to hear if you've ever been in that situation on whatever level. But D, definitely coming back to you mentioned the punishments, and also too, I want to talk about some of the responses that I've seen specifically from Coach Izzo, and doing away with the handshake line and his response. But Mo, what you got, man? You ever been in a situation like that?
I have, as an assistant. And mine was not coach to coach. It was an opposing player and me as a coach.
Mm.
And it was a heated game. Where I was, we were very good. And this particular team was giving us some trouble. They played very well. They were very scrappy, and we were able to pull out the game. And I think it got to a point where maybe a call that they felt should have been called, and it wasn't. So on my end, I'm like, all right, we just squeaked away a win. We weren't really happy about winning, to be honest with you. We're just like, hey, we didn't play well. Good, this is a good opportunity to teach our guys to learn, but much rather learn after a win than a loss. And I'm going through the handshake line. I'll go through this story quick. And this kid on their team, doesn't shake my hand and calls me some things that I'm not really a fan of. So I stop and I'm like, what did you say? And he repeated himself. And I felt I needed to be professional. So I told him, hey, man, I know it's been a heated game, but, this isn't the way to handle it, and there's only some more F and B's and stuff I'm going to be until eventually I'm going to say something back. And what I said back was look, man, this is a game. I understand you're upset, but this ain't the place to do this. I'm walking away. And that's when he had said something about you better walk away. And I just turned back at him and looked at him. And the opposing coach rushed me from behind and swung at me. And one of our assistant coaches from where I coached at jumped in front of him. And it started out this little mini brawl. And my involvement in the brawl was very minimal because as this is going on, I'm seeing a camera still going in the direction of where I am. And my whole career just kind of flashing between my eyes. And it's like, whatever anger I have, is it worth going to prove that I'm tough or that I feel disrespected? Or do I need to step away? And at the end of the day, this camera is going to show what needs to be shown. So I chose to not enter back in there. And again, to make a long story short, like I still got not a punishment, but I was talked to as if I was wrong in this situation. And it really bothered me. But, at the end of the day, I had to understand what they were saying. And, I think nobody really thought about how I felt or how I should have felt in that situation. But, I had to hear what they thought I should have done, and I kept it moving.
Both of you guys, I appreciate that. I have obviously never been a coach to the point where I'm in that part of the handshake line, but I have been in some heated handshake lines from a player standpoint, and more player to player, not player to coach, which that makes your story interesting, Mo, because that ain't never who I found myself upset with. was the other team's coaches like that. So how about you guys got anything with this? Because I got my questions. I any questions or any direction y'all want to go?
I mean, there's so many different directions that we can go. I think the two that you mentioned is probably, a good space to start and see where it goes from there. I do have a question for Mo. Like, was this pre-saved or post-saved? Because the restraint that you showed in that situation, man, I know I could not have done what you did.
Well, I'm gonna say this, bro. Like, and I think you and I talked about this earlier. Like, my thing is, and that's my whole thing about this situation with Juwan. Like, I never really got into the, man, let's swing on each other on the court or a school fight. Like, to me, I know that's going to be broken up. Right. So like, if I really want to do that, I'm not gonna do it in that setting. Like, let's go, as they say, in the parking lot or on the street or whatever. So to me, in that situation,
you ain't gonna go through no special tunnel in the Staples Center, though.
Hey, I mean, but I'm just saying though, like to me, like, okay, and that's where I'm being real with you. Like, I really thought about that. Like, okay, so me jumping in here, at best, what I'm gonna do, grab your shirt, punch you. Okay, I'm gonna lose my job. Still not gonna get in what I wanted to because it's broken up. So at the end of the day, was it worth it? It's not. And in these positions that we have, we don't have the liberty to outwardly show that we're disrespected. You can't do that. We are leaders of other people and we are leaders of these institutions. That's what you are signing when you sign that paper. So it doesn't matter whether you feel disrespected or like, man, he's challenging my manhood. At the end of the day, until you walk out of that building and take that stuff off, you're representing that. So if that's what you decide to do, I feel you. Like, I feel everything that Juwan felt, but you're wrong. Like, that's just the reality of it. Like, they paying you that much amount of money to rep that boo-boo school. By the way, shout out to the Ohio State University. But to rep that school, like, you gotta do it the right way. And that's where I understand all of that, but it's what comes with it.
You got over there, West Side.
Saved or not, like you gotta. That's just part of the job, man.
No, I completely understand it and actually agree. I think where I've lost my emotion is saying exactly what you just said. Don't act a fool right here in front of everybody because nothing's gonna happen. You know where the bus is. You know where my office is. You got my cell phone. So if you really want to do something, just holler at me.
Right.
And we can get down however you want to get in. And the sad part is, and it's not a highlight in my life, I've been known to say that multiple times.
Meet me at the bus?
Huh?
Meet me at the bus?
No doubt. In fact, I'm going to say it recently happened.
This season?
Yeah.
Damn, son.
Yep.
Oh, my dude.
And the point is this is like, and again, I think it's a space, and not having a conversation with Coach Howard and not knowing, but I'm just assuming, and you know what happens when you assume, but like in those situations or situation itself, like people feel like they can just say anything and they can get away with it. And I guarantee you, I shouldn't say I guarantee you, but I feel like that's what happened with that. That's what pushed Juwan to swing on my man, was because he just felt like I could just pop off in this situation and get away with it. And he didn't. He got slapped. Hey, man, and that's my point is like, I understand what Coach Howard did. I don't necessarily, it's, you know, obviously it's probably not in the right space and in time and all of those things, but man, you can't act an ass and expect to just be able to get away with that. That would be my point. Like, you talking here, but remember, I know where your office is. So when I come knock on the door, make sure you keep the same energy that you got in front of all those people when it's just you and I. Make sure you keep the same energy. When this fist comes across your eyeball, make sure you keep the same energy. You understand what I'm saying?
They go that Pomona coming out. Why?
You know what it is, and I am trying. God is not through with me yet.
Bro, that ain't the realest statement. That ain't the realest statement. And there's a lot to it, Mo. I told you when we talked earlier, I hadn't dissected the video. I have since dissected and watched a couple different people, one of which I knew I wasn't going to appreciate his particular opinion, and one of which I will see if I appreciate his opinion or not. But you mentioned something earlier about, you know, Juwan seemed like he really got escalated when it appeared that the assistant coach put his hands on, you know, kind of bumped off one of Juwan's guys. Mm-hmm. So yeah, now what? Is that pop off material? You put your hands on my guys. You know, it's one thing to put your hands on me. You put your hands on my guys. That's another thing, or no?
Yes, you, Mo.
Y'all sitting there. We on radio time while y'all sitting there playing Silent Assassin.
For me, nah, man. Nah. Again, like, I understand it. It makes sense to me. I don't even discredit it. And I think everything that Juwan Howard felt in that moment, like, that makes complete sense. I mean, I'll even share like my take on the whole, like, why he even got angry to that point. Like, if we want to talk about that, because I have an interesting perspective on that. But when it comes to like, yeah, now you touch one of our players, does that heighten it? Like, nah. Again, man, like, we aren't going to win. And I'm not saying we in a racial way. I'm saying, like, in that situation, you're not going to win that battle being the more aggressive person. You're going to win that battle being the smarter person. And, like, okay, we got all these cameras going on. You got all these people in here. Like, man, at this point, if I'm in that situation, I'm more focused on getting my guys off the court. And then, like what DT said, like, okay, I know where you are. I could find out where you live. That's my opportunity, if I really feel that way, to do that. And it's not going to get stopped, and I'm not going to be held by 15 people. So to me, in that situation, like, I'm thinking more of like, okay, we got to win this a different way. I got to get my kids off the floor.
Yeah.
You know, to me, only thing that didn't make this different was the crowd getting into it. Was a Malice in the Palace type, you know, where they start jumping into it.
Sure.
But at this point, I'm trying to get my kids off the court for me.
D, anything? Piggyback, add, or share?
No, I mean, I think Mo hit the nail on the head in terms of, you know, your charge, the expectations of you, they're different. in those situations. When you sign that contract, you basically sign away how you would normally act to say, I'm going to act differently to protect, these guys or protect them from that situation. I think that's number one. But I think also in those situations, man, it's a lot easier said than done. And
Yeah.
I've been there in terms of that line. Like, I don't even know that a line exists. Like, I'm trying to get at you. And that's just me.
If I got, again, throwing in from a player standpoint, watching the videos that I watched, there was a point where one of the videos, my man said, he's deciphering whether or not it's a punch, it's a slap. When Juwan did have some quick reflexes because it was open-handed, but he did, as soon as he pulled back, it was closed. So if you glance or in the moment, I can only imagine in the moment, you don't know, it is what it is. But my guy in the video that I watched, he pulled in the whole, oh man, you're getting attacked by a big former NBA basketball player, and that's going to feel a certain kind of way. And I'm saying, because in that moment, I was also a big former NBA player when you halted me up and I told your ass, don't touch me. You know what I'm saying? Like I was a big NBA player then. I was a big NBA player when we did the preseason coaches convention too. Like, I've been a big NBA player. Don't pick now to harbor on that fact. So again, I view it a different way, man. Everything that you guys said makes perfect sense. I could sit here and say coulda, woulda, shoulda all I want to, and I have not been in that situation. Penalties. The penalties came down, and correct me if I'm wrong, here's what I saw. I saw Big Ten 5 games for Juwan, and then Michigan come in and say rest of the regular season. I saw $40,000 for Juwan. I saw a couple games, I think, for a couple of the players. There was a game or two in there somewhere for a player.
Michigan players?
Michigan players, yep. And then I can't remember whether I saw a game or not, but I know I saw $10,000 for Greg Gard.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so 40 for Juwan, 10 for Greg Gard is what I saw. 5 games per conference. Michigan stepped in. Y'all know how that go. We also want to step in and show that we don't condone that. We're going to do something else. But I did not see if Coach Gard actually got a game. What you think about the penalties, just hearing them?
I just want to say this really quick. Also, along with those penalties in terms of the 5-game suspension, they were without pay.
Yes.
Which is even more of a punishment. At that level, I don't know if it's a big deal just because of his money situation, and I don't know his financial situation.
Sure.
On that, but there's a different connotation when you are, when you suspend a coach without pay in the Big Ten versus you suspend a coach without pay in the Big West.
Yeah,
there is a significant difference. You mentioned, the penalties. I didn't see where Coach Gard received any type of punishment for his role in the confrontation. Again, I'm going to say it's probably not. I thought, especially if the Big Ten came in and said, "Hey, we're suspending Coach Howard for 5 games," and they wanted to send that message, I think too you should send a message. You had a chance to send a message also to the Wisconsin coach to address the whole Big Ten and just say, it's wrong. We don't condone any of that. And I'm not saying, at the level that Coach Howard was, punished, but I do think he should, definitely a game or two. That would be my opinion. And I think the Big Ten missed on an opportunity to do that. I think Wisconsin missed on an opportunity to do that. And they basically are to me, the way the punishments were divvied out, they're basically taking sides.
I don't disagree with what you said, bro. And I think there's a lot more to uncover in that footage if that's all you're gonna punish. Because there is a coach at Wisconsin. I'm a huge wrestling fan. I don't know if y'all remember DX, but they used to make this gesture with their hands below their waist.
Yeah.
It was an assistant coach that made that gesture.
Yeah.
With his hands below his waist.
Yeah.
And I didn't hear you say anything about his name being mentioned.
I don't even know his name. And for him to do that, and not only that, Coach, I just jumped in here, but not only did he do that, but then he also got on a tweet and was saying some things like showing, I don't know what, but he was also saying some things and it was deleted, which I have another problem with. Like, don't delete it. Keep the same energy, my dude.
But I think there's a lot to uncover, man, that you got all these angles, you got all these perspectives. I think when these things hit, man, social media is it is crazy because everybody's got opinions, thoughts, and everybody thinks their opinion is right. I just think there's a lot more to uncover in that video than just the most aggressive guy. I think there's a lot to uncover, and I agree with you on that, DT. I think they probably missed the mark on this. Like, my thing is, you don't want it to happen again. Let's swing hard with the discipline, and not just the person that's the enforcer. I think there's a lot of pieces in here that you can uncover by just watching that film several times that you can hold those people accountable.
Yeah, I'm looking at it as we speak. So it was, last 5 games. So Coach Howard can come back for the Big Ten tournament, 40 grand. And Gard was 10 grand. A couple players each got 1 game suspensions.
And a couple players from one school only.
From Michigan, correct.
Right.
Correct. Nobody from Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Coach Izzo, being Coach Izzo, found a way to get into the mix as a fellow Big Ten coach, but his response, which was all over Twitter, I found it interesting as well. So somebody, as we do in 2022, we have gone as far as to say we should get rid of the handshaking line. And Coach Izzo's response to that was visibly comedically upset. Like, I feel like he was laughing to keep from cussing people's asses out. But bottom line, like, what are we kidding? This got to be a joke that we're talking about doing away with the handshake line. No, if you kicked my ass, part of the principles and the values that we learn through athletics is you kicked my ass and I'm gonna shake your hand afterwards and cool, I took this ass whooping. And he said if somebody decides to do that, then if we take away the handshake line, his guys will still go through and imaginarily shake hands going through. Like, and you can only imagine. I don't know Coach Izzo that well, but clearly he's rooted in the old school of he understands the values, and I'm sure he has a specific way of going about how he teaches those values and principles. But what's your thoughts on that, fellas? I'm going absurd. The absurdity of doing away with the handshake line. Where are you with that?
I'm actually going to come from a different space. I'm actually in favor of doing away with the handshake line for this simple fact. What do you value? What value does the respective programs gain by shaking hands afterwards? You think about how many emotions, like we just talked about the emotions that are driving. So just think about, like, if you just beat a team, you're emotionally high. You're a team that just got beat. You're emotionally dejected. You're down. So your senses are up in terms of if somebody says something, or even you, if you're like me, if you think you heard somebody think the thought of actually saying something, it perks your ears up at a completely different level. You know what I'm saying?
Did you
And
just
so
say if you heard somebody think the thought?
think the thought.
Damn, that's real.
Not they don't actually have to say it. If I think you said it and you walk by me, hey mother,
It's on. It's on.
say what you got. Say it with your chest, man. Say it with
And
your chest.
it sound like, are you the Rick James of college basketball, man?
Man,
Listen here, bro.
a lot of pent up hostility in there, son.
No, it's not. It's not pent up. I have no problem. I have no problem telling you how I feel.
It's out.
I have no problem. But just coming from maybe less is more from a confrontational standpoint. And I'll say this, like the AD that I work for now, when I first got the job, I wanted to change my bench. And I wanted to go from where we are now to the other side, because where we are now is where the other staff was, or the former staff. They were on the same side. And so I kind of wanted to change benches and just, something new. But my AD said, I don't want the teams to have to cross each other at halftime or after the game. And I was like, that makes a lot of sense, because you're eliminating the potential of something happening. You shake hands before the game, you already know ain't nothing gonna happen. I shouldn't say that. There's been times where things have gotten heated before games. But after a game, if teams go their separate ways, you eliminate the possibility, or the chances quickly diminish if you do away with the handshake line. And again, I'm speaking not for anyone else. I'm speaking for myself. Just knowing me. If you eliminate the handshake line, you're eliminating a chance of me being driven emotionally.
Yeah. I'm thinking even from a pro level, and granted, at the college level, we don't have this happen, but jersey swaps and all of this stuff that they're doing. Okay, that's one thing, and I'm not even going there. Regular season, dudes are dapping up after the game. What's happening? Playoffs, and again, I understand that it's a different situation. You got more at stake. It's win or go home. But at the end of game 3, ain't nobody shaking hands. Game 1, game 2, like in the playoffs, most people don't even notice there is no shaking hands. When that game is over, I go to my locker room, you go to your locker room, I see you in 2 days. You know what I mean? It is what it is. Maybe at the end of a series, if I'm cool with you, we wrap. But then we also are, or at least you and I, DT, Mo, you probably know enough basketball to know, but like I remember Isaiah and the Pistons walking off the court. I remember that. And it's almost kind of like, cool, if walking off the court is going to prevent a melee, I bet. I don't know. That's just my thoughts.
Yeah, and before Mo goes, I would say this: even during the course of the regular season, if you notice, dudes, they don't, in the NBA, they don't. It's not like a full-on formal handshake line.
True.
I'm cool with you and you another team.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm coming and I'm saying, so and so. But if Mo's on the other team and I don't really rock with Mo, I'm not gonna going out of my way.
Yeah.
To, you know what I'm saying? Whereas in college, it's customary. You have to, basically.
Sure.
Or you could be considered a bad sport or whatever, whatever the case may be.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to add too, like, teams don't really shake hands after like a big championship win. Like if we win the championship, like our kids are all jumping in the crowd with everybody that's on the court. So it's really the coaches that are shaking hands.
Yeah.
Just another point to that. But I see both sides. I mean, my thing is this: it's a question to the question. Are you considered a bad sport or not? Is it bad sportsmanship if you don't shake hands after a game? I think there are other ways to exhibit showing good sportsmanship, and I think to DT's point, like, I think there's so many emotions in the game, and you're asking I mean, he just admitted that he's crazy, so I ain't dealing. I ain't talking about. I'm talking about you're asking 18 to 22-year-olds to, to channel up how they feel and walk through the line. Well, what if we were going at it on the court and this is kind of my opportunity to, man, I'm not trying to shake your hand. Like,
I mean, we saw it was some shorties a couple months ago, and my man walked through the line and gut punched him like for real. Dude, you ain't see that?
Yeah.
No, I missed that one.
Oh man, I'm talking about. Go ahead, Mo.
Now he put him on the ground. That was assault to me. Like,
dude did that?
Bro, they're walking through the line and he uppercut to the solar plexus.
mm-hmm.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Send me that. Send me that. I love it. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense because again, you would think that as mature adult coaches, cool, no matter the miss, we can be sound enough to shake hands and go. But these 18 to 22-year-old young people, they don't know how to channel their emotions quite so.
Yeah.
And the way we're aligned, at least where I've always been, as coaches, we're always the front, players are in the back. So
you know what's happening.
Yeah, I don't know because I can't see there.
Yeah.
To the incident that I told you, like, I understood that coach being angry because he's looking and seeing, hey, as a coach talking to one of my players, my issue and what I said to him was, I'm a grown man. Like, I'm not going to say anything to one of your players that I wouldn't address to you.
Sure.
So, like, you just made this assumption that I want to just fight a kid after a game that I won. That doesn't make any sense to me. Like, why can't we have a conversation? But that's a whole nother topic.
No, and I think you just hit on something. Sorry, Jay.
No, you good.
Mo, you just hit on something. If you are the winner, your emotions and your mind space is completely different versus you just lost a tough game or you just got beat by 30. I won't say you. I will say I am in a different mindset. Like, yeah, I'm just in a different mindset.
But Mo, I think it's like you said too. There's so much that we can go, which is why I thought it was important for us to talk about it. But in one of the videos I watched, they did specifically say Coach Howard was at the end of this line. Like I haven't paid much attention to know if that's what he typically does. And listening to you and knowing what I know just from experience, typically the head coaches are dapping up first and everybody kind of falls in line behind them. So interesting. I think across the board, man, I think we all are in agreement that being in the position that we are in, we got to be more accountable for our reactions and our responses. There's a certain level of accountability that goes with leadership and representation and all that type stuff. Did you grab any money moments out of what we said? I know for me, just continuing to listen to you guys, man, like each time we record, I feel like I say this often, but listening to how we all show up in our own individual ways, but collectively, more than just contribute, but just collectively, I think we do a good job of respecting each other, even when we may not necessarily agree. And I think that's a representation of what I wish the world would show up as. Like, I ain't got to agree with you, man, to accept you.
No doubt. No doubt.
And that's across all fronts.
I think even in this situation that you're talking about with the two opposing coaches, I think Mo said something that he had some comments or feelings towards, what actually happened and led up to that situation. It's a disagreement in terms of how each person would respond and not necessarily respecting how each person would, respond.
That part.
And I think what Mo was alluding to, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mo, but like, hey man, that's your team. If you want to call a timeout, if you got a timeout, hey, I got to put up with it. You know what I'm saying? But it also doesn't mean that I am going to forget. I'm going to allow my team to forget so that if we're ever in the situation again, we already know what this feels like. You know what I mean? That's that dude's team. That's, whatever he does with his team, let him do it. Cool. He didn't do anything, in my opinion, where he violated a rule or he overstepped a rule. I think there's maybe some unspoken rules that he may have or may not have overstepped his boundaries there. But I didn't think he did anything, again, that violated the rules. He called a timeout and each, even if you listen to the press conference, even in the press conference, they both were trying to defend their point, their perspective. No, they didn't acknowledge the fact that, you know what, I was out of line.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that both were out of line.
Yeah.
Because not only did their emotions perpetuate the situation, but their emotions continued to perpetuate the situation when they didn't accept the responsibility. And that's an opportunity that they both missed. And I would say it's a lot easier sitting here on the night that we record on a 6 o'clock phone call versus after I just got my butt whooped, I'm in the heat of the battle. The one thing I'll say, money moment for me, is I'm so grateful I'm not in that situation. I wasn't in that situation. I can cheerlead from the sideline in that situation.
Yeah. Bring us home, Mo Williams.
Man, the only thing I got is just the power of opinion, right? Like, I think you said this, Jay, and I thought it was so true. You actually kind of stole what I said. So I'm just going to add on it and polish it. But yeah, man, like I think
that sounded like my shit wasn't good enough. That's what that sounded like.
It was great. I'm just saying, I'm just going to add on to it. And like I said, just polish it even more because it's already shiny, big dog. But what I'm going to say is, when these types of things happen, man, everybody has these different opinions. And if you can never hear or listen, you can't ever break away from what you believe. And even like hearing what DT said and hearing that story, like, it was like, okay, like I understand better because for me as a coach, you already said how I am, man. If somebody does something to me like that, I'm like, hey, that's how you coach your team. You have to live with that. Like, if you are a win at all costs type of person, you got to live with that. When you leave this earth, you got to live with that when you're dealing with those kids that you work with. I just remember it. So I know if we play again, okay, like we gonna do something very similar if we get in that situation. But yeah, I think it's just when these things happen, man, just this space between with all of us being able to be open to hear everybody's opinions and thoughts. And no one said at all, hey, you're right or you're wrong during this whole conversation. We just listen. And I think anybody that's listening, and you're able to really hear a lot of different perspectives, but they're all perspectives of people that have been in this situation in their own way.
I'm gonna bring this home. I have a quote that I use in one of my experiences specifically with listening. And the quote is, how you listen can literally change what someone says. I think, how you listen, there it is. We ain't seen it in a couple weeks. There it is. How you listen can actually change what someone says. You guys, it's the reason we literally are here as elite question askers, but I think we show up not only just as elite question askers, but I think each of us show up as elite listeners, which allows us to ask elite questions because the answering of that question isn't attached with my agreement. It's attached to I accept. And so, if I'm on a little bit of a soapbox to finish, I'm coming back. Let's take this out of basketball. We talk about how many things are transferable from athletics or basketball or whatever into real life. And I think this is it, which is like, we live in this world, whether you call it cancel culture or whatever else. Because I don't agree with you now equals I don't like you. I hate you. Like I feel like that's real extenuating circumstances. You know, I at the end of the day, and we are all in agreement with this, and I appreciate it. And whether it's D throwing his 2 thumbs up or whatever, but I don't care how you pray. I don't care how you vote. I don't care how you love. I don't care about a lot of that. Can we show respect for each other? Can we be in a place where we agree that, okay, cool, this is different? Bet. So I appreciate y'all, man. This is what we would normally do. We're going to switch around these episodes a little bit from how we recorded them to make sure this one gets out with its time sensitivity. But catch us always Monday nights, Mature Mondays, TLSC Radio. Fan page link is out. Also, man, we in the live chat too. Live chat was popping on our last episode. So one of us, if not more of us, will be in there, meaning the 3 of us in our live chat. Go to our fan page. Catch us on YouTube as well. Like and subscribe, share, comment, all that good stuff. Mo, DT, love y'all boys, man. Peace.
Love you too. Peace.